Oh, who are you with in the moonlight? That is a searching question. And I suppose I should do that and ask the Mayor of Dubbo straight away. Matthew Dickerson, good morning. How are you?
It has been a full moon this week, but I haven't been doing anything in the moonlight that I shouldn't be doing in the moonlight.
Good boy. All right. I've got to start and ask you the obvious question. There's a video posted during the week by Councillor Josh Black regarding the situation in Boundary Road. Now, I understand at a council meeting you were advised by the engineers of the roads that we should fix with the $5 million. He's jumping up and down and saying that it's a mistake, blah, blah, blah. Your comments?
I'm certainly not going to sit here and criticise one of my fellow councillors. We've had a decision that's gone through council. There was debate at council, there were amendments moved and normal sort of things happened at a council meeting. We've got a final resolution. The $5 million that was allocated to council from the state government, the councillors resolved where that money is going, and that money is going across a number of roads across the LGA. And that's basically all that needs to be said, because the debate's over, it's finished, we've got a council resolution and we move forward.
Are you sucking up, quote unquote, to the Wellington councillors to maintain your position as mayor, as was stated by Councillor Black?
I haven't really seen any wild accusations like that, Richard, but the position of mayor, it doesn't change. As you know, you've got the position of mayor until the next mayoral election. So whether I'm sucking up to fellow councillors or not, or whatever I might be doing, I'm doing the role as mayor as the best I can, to the best of my ability. I'm dealing with the public, I'm dealing with fellow councillors, doing all the things that a mayor should do. And I don't know that sucking up is what you would describe I'm doing. I'm doing my job to the best of my ability. And again, whether I do it terribly or fantastically, I'm still going to be the mayor tomorrow and the next day. And the next mayoral election is way off in the distance in September. But gee, I've got about 1 million things to think about between now and September. The last thing on my mind is a mayoral election in September. The first thing on my mind is an interview with Richard Mutton right now.
Fair enough. A very good but very political answer. On a serious note, though, mayors, including you, are jumping up and down about the Chris Minns decision, the opposition leader, Labor Party at the moment, with the election coming up, to get rid of the tunnel for the Great Western Highway. This is appalling.
Well, it didn't go far enough, in my opinion, in the first place. So I'm actually critical of both sides of government. There was an article, the Daily Liberal rang me during the week about this, and I gave them an article that I wrote way back in 2014 that talked about an analysis, that I actually did an analysis, a desktop analysis. I didn't go and spend money with consultants or anything. I just did my own little desktop analysis of what a tunnel under the Blue Mountains would do for this region. Now, I was talking about a tunnel that went all the way under the Blue Mountains.
Yeah.
I was talking, it was approximately 70 kilometres in length to basically go in around Mount Lambie, Lithgow, that sort of area, and come out at Penrith at the other end. That would be absolutely fantastic for this region. It would open up this entire region. It would make a trip from Dubbo to Sydney so much better. From that section there at the moment, from say Lithgow area down to Penrith, at the moment, there is somewhere in the vicinity of 32 speed changes, anywhere from 40 to 80 kilometres. So it's very difficult to stay under the speed limit that whole time. You're constantly checking the speed limit, checking your speedo. You're making it a very slow traversal of the Blue Mountains. A tunnel would solve a whole range of problems. The tunnel that was announced by the coalition was only a very small tunnel in that whole scheme of things. So in my opinion at the time, that didn't go far enough. Then obviously the Labor government saying they're going to remove that. Well, a small tunnel would be better than no tunnel, but I still think the real solution is to do it properly, do it once, do it properly all the way.
Yep. I've got to agree with you, but in fairness to the current tunnel project, it also had four lanes going into it and out of it, and 4 lanes exposed road, not tunnel road, to Lithgow. So it would, I think, make traffic a little bit easier to flow through that area. But you're quite right. You go from 80 to 40 to 50 to 60 all over the place. Traffic lights, the whole thing. And of course, when it banks up, as it does at weekends and sometime during the week, it's just impossible.
And we seem to see tunnels pop up all over the place around the world. It seems to be in even mountainous countries like Sweden or Switzerland, if there's a bump in the road, they just put a tunnel through it. They seem to be very good. So surely we can learn from the expertise. And in Sydney itself, we seem to see new transport tunnels going all over the place. And obviously that's not to get through hills, that's to get away from some of the traffic that's on top of the road. And it does make it much easier to get around now. We've got so many tunnels that seem to be, every time I go to Sydney, there's a new tunnel that seem to appear in. I don't know how I got in this tunnel, but there's another tunnel here. We seem to be okay at making tunnels here, and around the world we seem to be pretty good at it. So why not a tunnel straight through the Blue Mountains? Now again, one of my criticisms of the state government in the past has been that it has been too focused on the NSW, the Newcastle Sydney Wollongong. So we seem to be able to do it down there. I think it could solve some problems for a state government, any state government, I don't care which flavour, by basically allowing people to live further away from Sydney. So rather than have to try and put all those people in Sydney and then have the Blue Mountains as a barrier, by having a tunnel there, and by people now working from home more and more, you could have people living in Lithgow, living in Bathurst, Orange, even Dubbo, and working in a Sydney job most of the time, and then occasionally they need to be in Sydney. But people are really good now at telecommuting, living in Parramatta or living in Penrith or living in Dubbo. If you're working from your home, it doesn't really make much of a difference. But again, opening up those transport links, on the odd occasion they need to be in Sydney, you could actually get there much easier.
Yeah, freight as well. We won't go down that. Now, you absolutely shocked me this morning, and I am absolutely blown away by this. And Murray Wood, CEO, if you're listening, and anybody else in council you're listening, you will not do what the Mayor told me this morning. Apparently, for some obscure reason, bureaucratic reason would have to be, the council chambers are going to be converted into office, and those horrible rooms downstairs will become the council chambers. Am I right in saying that?
Well, let's go back 2 steps. This is not a bureaucratic decision. This is a decision that councillors will make. So if you want to point the finger anywhere...
Yeah, but who came up with the original idea to put to councillors? The bureaucrats, of course. They want more office space. They want to ruin a good room.
Well, there's been some discussions, general discussions around staff and councillors around this idea. And last night at our committee meetings, it was taken to committees for councillors to have a look at. And then, again, as you know, it's not a final resolution until it goes to council in 2 weeks' time, in which case it may or may not go forward, but there's a chance there for the public to talk to their local councillor and say, please don't do this if that's what they want. But the logic is thus. I'll explain the logic and then see if you've still got the same opinion.
Yeah, this will be good. Here, let's listen to this logic. Come on, yeah.
At the moment,
There's no logic, but anyway, go ahead.
At the moment, we have council chambers that are used twice a month. Committee meetings and council meetings. The rest of the time, you've got a fair amount of space there that's sitting idle, not used for any other activity. It might be used, last night it was used for maybe half an hour. At a council meeting, it might be used for a couple of hours. It's a large amount of space to be used for a very small amount of time. Downstairs, we've got our conference meeting rooms, our committee meeting rooms. They're used all day for various meetings, etc. If we freed up the council chambers and turned that into office space, which is the proposal, and then set it up so that downstairs where our committee meeting rooms, conferences are, can be used twice a month, reconfigured twice a month for a council meeting and a committee meeting, and can be used for other meetings throughout the rest of the month. It makes efficient use of that space.
No, it doesn't. You make the offices downstairs and you use the committees and all the other bits and pieces upstairs in the council chambers that they're at present. Convert downstairs. They're ugly rooms, they're dark, they're bleak, they're horrible rooms. The council chamber is light, bright, and it sets a mood. Downstairs doesn't set a mood, it's awful.
So one of the issues with upstairs versus downstairs is accessibility. For people in a wheelchair to get to the council chambers at the moment, they've got to go up a lift and then through the council corridors and then down a stair lift to get to the level where the council chambers are.
Yeah,
so
problem.
That becomes slightly problematic to the point where some people may choose not to go and attend a meeting there or a committee meeting or a council meeting there because it's too hard to get to on the ground floor.
Lame excuse. Keep on going.
Well, if you're in a wheelchair, you probably wouldn't think it was a lame excuse, but downstairs, people can access those rooms much easier if they're in a wheelchair. Ultimately, what we want to achieve is there are some of our staff now who are across the road at 69 Church Street. Now, they're there because they can't fit in the current building. If we free up this chamber, as we are proposing to do, if we free up the chambers, that means that people from across the road, our staff from across the road, could move, be accommodated in the one building, and suddenly that frees up across the road to either be sold off, the valuation on that is in the vicinity of $700,000 to $800,000, or be leased out so it generates some additional income for council. So ultimately, it's all about economics. It's all about using the space that we have in the best possible way and getting the best possible financial outcome. We need to make sure we've got financial sustainability.
And history goes by the board.
And there is over 40 years of history.
History goes behind the board. Okay, yeah, for a decision to convert a room downstairs. They are ugly rooms downstairs. You've got to agree. There's no light. It's all internal. They're horrible rooms. You've got a light bright thing upstairs. Use it more.
So the one concern that I had is the over 40 years of history that we have in the council chambers.
Good, because that's what it's all about.
That's right, and certainly there's some major decisions that have been made in those council chambers. You've sat there, you've been part of
13 and a half years.
Some of those decisions that have been made there. And the only thing that I thought of was when I first got onto council, it had been after we had the fire at the council chambers.
Mm-hmm.
So before I got on, there was a fire in there, and as you know, temporarily we had to move to the old Dubbo High School. So my first experience with a council meeting was sitting at a classroom environment at almost a school table.
It was the assembly hall.
The assembly hall, but it was still sitting in that environment, and you had essentially that less gravatus with the surroundings. But we still had a council. We still made council decisions. Nothing stopped in terms of that decision-making process. Once the fit-out or the fix-up of the council building had been completed, we moved back in there, and you had a nicer chamber to sit in. But it didn't mean that we made better decisions or worse decisions. It was still okay to function when it wasn't the council chambers. So again, there's that history there, but economics rules the roost. We've got to make sure we're using community money in the best possible way.
No, you won't convince me one iota, because you've got a better room upstairs. It is, people in wheelchairs can get there. You convert those rooms downstairs to the office spaces, and you use the council chambers more readily for all those other committee meetings that you're doing downstairs in those horrible rooms. In fact, if the poor old staff have to go in there, you've got to do something for them as well downstairs. Put some more windows and make it lighter and brighter. They are not good rooms.
So if we go ahead with this, again, it's not a final resolution yet, but if we go ahead with this, I'll take your feedback on board, and we'll make sure that downstairs has got the appropriate gravatus associated with a council chamber on a temporary basis.
Go over the road to 69 and put them in there and rent the rest of the office space. No, don't agree with that one iota. Now, he's going to start replacing trees around the place. It was supposed to happen 2 years ago after the drought, and there's still great gaps in all our roads, and that's why I said to you the other day, the place looks shabby compared to Stanthorpe and Warwick and Armidale. Yeah, Armidale looked good, and so did Tamworth. And we've got gaps with dead trees that haven't been shifted. Have a look at Apex Oval. Trees that have been shifted, great holes that haven't been replaced, and the town needs smartening up.
So in general, yes, when trees die, we replace them. If trees have died during the drought, and it all takes time, but again, that's the program. We don't have a tree die and then say, well, that's it, bad luck for that tree and bad luck for that area. We don't replace it, but all of these things take time, and obviously we've had a few different natural events that have been occurring with droughts, then with floods that have actually impacted our outdoor team to be able to get all their work done. I've actually got a lot of faith and confidence in our outdoor team and some of the staff that work in that area. But again, you need more staff, you need more resources, more money to be able to do all these things. Maybe we could save some money on some office space in the central admin building and see if we could put that towards some more resources externally.
Absolute crap. Absolute crap. God, you go on with some crap sometimes. I'm pleased that we're friends. All right. Boundary Road, people jumping up and down about that very quickly.
So the problem is that we have is that what you see in Boundary Road, you see in 50, 100 different areas across the LGA. Trying to determine which of those is the most important to do is a twofold process. One, it's about the condition, how bad the condition is, and two, it's how much traffic is on that road. Obviously, Boundary Road has a lot of traffic, but the condition of that road there, it's still passable. You can still pass that at legal speeds at the moment, as long as you stay on the roadway. If you go off the road to the left of the road there, which is where that bitumen has been pushed up, and it's been pushed up because we've had such wet underground, and so the underneath roadways is very wet, and then it gets pushed up by weight of cars on there. but there are many areas I could point to, many areas that I drive on the roads every day where I see that sort of level of damage or more, and some of those roads have got high levels of traffic.
Yep.
We'll get to them all, but it's a process of just going to the highest priority first and seeing what we can do working on that.
Would people be saying Sheraton Road as well, down at the school end, it would be the same proposition?
Well, it's actually slightly different in Sheraton Road. We deliberately didn't put Sheraton Road into that allocation of $5 million because we're working with some of the developers in that area, some of the people that have some responsibility in doing some repairs on that road with the projects they've been working on, that we believe that shouldn't be coming from council coffers. That should be at least partly funded or maybe wholly funded by some of the developments that have occurred around that area. So we don't want to use ratepayers' money or state government money for that when we think there's some other responsibilities there. Unfortunately, that might mean it takes a little bit longer to occur, but we think in the long term that'll be a better outcome.
Yep. Fair enough. Good talking with you,
Thank
as
you.
usual. Thank you, Mr Mayor, Matthew Dickinson, Mayor of Dubbo, who is under pressure from one councillor about his re-election in September, which I think is funny. Thanks, Matthew.
Thanks, Richard.
Okay, it's 26 to 11 DCFM.